Hey everybody, welcome to another week of the Corner Church podcast.
You should say it faster. All right.
We're doing week 15, I think. Well, Mark week 15. But it's Mark half, but we're doing chapter 14. You got it.
Okay. He did okay.
What's it on, Kim? What are we talking about?
We are talking about, church.
Oh, yeah.
Nice try. I studied up. You can't puss.
First two words.
We had
Oh, just the help. I'm shut-pressed. The commute relief. So stoked about that. You guys. You?
What are the two choices, Rich? Would you rather be a critical optimist or a
Constructive skeptic?
constructive skeptic? Critical optimist. Okay. Or a constructive skeptic.
I think I am a constructive skeptic. I wouldn't say constructive. I think...
I don't know tell me how those things are different. They're not. It's the same thing. Okay. So that was funny because I'm just like, I'm drawing the circle of what each of those are. I'm like,
They overlap?
yeah, that's hard to do. That's like, I was that hard in my head. They feel slightly different, even though they essentially mean the same thing. Okay, say them again. Critical optimist or maybe, like constructive skeptic. I don't want to be, I like constructive skeptic.
I know. I think I do. The word critical stresses me out.
I like it.
All right. Yeah.
I like constructive
Why are you being so vertical? Yeah. That's what we're talking about today.
Yeah.
The goal is to be those things. Yes, that's the speech. Why? It can feel like, this is in parallel with what we're talking about today, but it can feel like hanging around or being somebody who has is totally agreeable can feel like that's what we want to surround ourselves with. But, is that actually true? Do people want us around? No.
Not agreeable, but positive.
Positive.
Positive and questioning is correct.
Yeah, some people would say, no, let me rephrase that. For some people, questioning and positive is really hard.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, sometimes I think there's even moments where someone can be slightly critical or questioning, and whether they are positive or negative in that, I think a lot of people's tendency is to just take that as negative. If you're asking a question about something or making a statement about how I'm doing something, I'm automatically assuming. And that's giving that pessimism back.
There's a lot of weight to tone. So if I would turn to Rachel.
You're so strong.
And
I'm so strong. Thank you.
you can do this. No, but feel the weight of, the phrase, if the phrase would be, why did you do that? And think of there's the deepest cut of that. Why did you do that? To a curiosity. Why did you do it? That the tone is such a harsh part of it. And so even thinking about that's what I'm struggling in those two phrases is that the tone can be negative for both.
But that's just because people view skeptical or skepticism as negative. When it's not inherently negative, it just means doubting.
So
asking a question.
Well, there's a lot of church tradition that says skepticism is bad.
In the definition circles, is discerning and skeptical, do they go outside of each other, or are they exactly the same?
I think for all intents and purposes in this discussion, they're the same.
Yeah. I think, just like in me, I feel like a lightness to discernment and a heaviness to skepticism, which I don't know why.
See, I kind of feel the opposite because I feel like I've been burned by people. So when it's been I'm just trying to be discerning more.
Yeah.
So they won't use it as an excuse to not be skeptical, but to be pessimist.
Yeah.
One of the notes that I wrote down as we were kind of talking through all of this is it's literally just reclaim skepticism, because I feel like it does have negative connotations, but it doesn't have to, because it's not inherently negative. And so reclaiming that, I think, is important to look and go, skepticism not bad. it is important.
Yeah, I think maybe this pulls the definition apart between discerning and skeptical a little bit. Is that I do think so there can be a gift, whatever that can mean, such a broad thing, but there can be a spiritual gift of discernment, and I think it actually helps me understand what that is when I place skepticism and discernment on top of each other, put them together, because sometimes what I often hear, or I think is implied, is that I have the gift of discernment. I mean, I don't even have to try. I just know. That's not what discernment is. Discernment is asking the questions, is being critical. I have the gift of understanding.
People say I have the gift of discernment. What they're actually saying is, I know what's right, and you have to listen.
Yeah, I will edit this out, but I don't want people to not think that they have the gift of discernment, but that can be a stumbling block. The thought of having it.
Telling other people that you have the gift of discernment can, and this is not, I'm not saying it's a fault necessarily, but
My discernment says that
can promote cynicism in other.
Yeah, because which let's bring that into the conversation. So the barrier. So as Kim said, church, as we started off, a bomb that can blow up being the body of Christ, that can just completely disrupt what it is to have not church as a gathering on Sunday. It can hurt that as well. But being the church where we disciple and are discipled, and where we love and care and we meet needs and we truly are synergistically tied together. If one thing, and there are many, but one thing that can just completely, that whatever the vernacular you want to use, but break it so that it doesn't work, is cynicism. And cynicism being the habit or the repetition of assuming that other people's motives are off. Or their motives are selfish or are skewed or off. And so
I like to think about it as just having a lack of hope. A lack of hope in others, a lack of hope in the future, a lack of hope in God, like all those things. Help.
And so we've talked about this quite a bit, but like verbalize, what is the difference between being cynical and being discerning, or cynical and being skeptical?
I really liked when you said it's questioning things, because I think some people say they're discerning and they think they're being prophetic, right? That's right or wrong, and the way I think about this is the right way, and it isn't questioning, it isn't digging in, it isn't trying to understand. It's I think that when I say I'm discerning, that I'm right, whereas I think that being discerning or skeptical, there's questioning, there still is hope, like you said, but there isn't blind hope where you're not thinking about it or trying to work through hard things.
I think a lot of time that questioning's actually honest skepticism and discernment actually comes out of hope. It's I want to believe the best in this situation in you, and I don't understand. So help me understand what's happening. That's a good thing.
Yeah, and I mean, verbalize, when you go from discerning or skeptical to cynical, what is actually happening that breaks it, that breaks hope or breaks relationship?
Oh, yeah.
I think when we were talking about it, experience disillusionment was one of them. I've seen this go wrong many times,
Yeah, you put your trust in the wrong people too many times, and you get destroyed. And every time you get destroyed, you become more cynical, and the hope goes away.
Yeah, hope goes away. When I start saying nothing matters, that's when I've crossed the line from skeptical to pessimist.
Jesus is so trustworthy.
Or I eat a Buster bar.
Or a Buster.
Yeah.
Does it help? Does it take away? It's a good break. For a second.
First hit. Yeah. Yep. It's anything from McDonald's. You're it's helping, and then 20 minutes of it's here.
Or 20 seconds.
I do think the one thing that's remarkable about the character of God that throughout all of biblical history is that he
he's constantly asking questions and expecting a lot, but he has hope in people that it kind of goes back to some of our conversation that we're going to have on this, is that there's lots of reasons to be cynical. And if anybody would have reason to be cynical, and I think it would be God and his understanding. And it's just like, I'm like those two pictures you said earlier, how do they cross over? Like that mental exercise is to think about how God can know and not be cynical is, man, it is hard for me to wrap my head around, but what a thing to sit in.
Believe that that maybe this time it'll go right. Maybe.
Yeah. Well, and we're going to do a couple of, they're not really fun, but kind of fun things of like, cynical triggers. And when you, and when you read through those things, or you think about another one is the checklist when cynicism might be causing your life to be a little unhealthy. And the thing that I just, through going through those two lists, is that I just go, cynicism is available. The shelves are stocked. And it's
Free.
yeah, it's not even a buy one, get one. It is just have at it. It is free.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you have to work hard to not be cynical. It's easy.
Yeah.
It's so easy. And to have hope is harder.
I don't know if people like practically think it, maybe, or choose it. But I think it's very often, if you're in the cynical, have no hope in people, assume everybody has terrible motives. At least in my head, we'll edit this out too. It's very easy to go, it would be so easy to not be cynical if it wasn't for everybody else.
For all of us.
I didn't. It'd be so easy.
Oh, man, now you're wow.
No, but I think that is the character of God, is that God would go, well, cynicism's available, and he doesn't look at us and go, except, and I wouldn't be if it wasn't for you people. God's picture and what Mark is running towards in the crucifixion, resurrection of Jesus, is that what a antithesis to cynicism, to sacrifice for those that don't deserve it. Which that's the gift of not being cynical, is that truly is a gift that you give away.
We spoiler, talk a little bit about Judas's like cynical nature, but what about the other direction? Like we are cynical of Judas.
Yeah.
Well, what if we change that mindset to really digging into why, like the skepticism about Judas and not the cynicism, because we know the story, so we can like see the other side. But in that moment, if you think about why was he doing this, I think that we would see a lot more than selfish ambition or anything like that. And it's nuts. That's a little side.
Yeah, and to like the cynicism can carry on because Judas was, and this is so complex, but he was repentant.
Yeah.
He had truly a moment of being repentant, and then here's a heavy moment that he was repentant and verbalized it to his spiritual authorities, and they said, "Not our bad." It's and so they were cynical of him, and yeah, it's all really broken. But I think the challenge that is so hard for us for me is that it's not a matter of all right, I need to set myself up to be discerning but not cynical. This is not something that you can just set up once in your life and then be good, or it's not something you should. It's very easy to say, but like, this is so easy for that person or that type of person. It's so hard for me, and that's a destructive thought.
Rachel and I were talking, I don't know, at some point, and we were talking about how we like to make all of these things like love and hope, we like to act like they're just feelings that you catch absolutely no control. You're just like all of a sudden, I am in love, or I'm so hopeful, or I have it now, and then might not have it the next moment. And I think like, I think that's like, I guess, fun, or maybe even like to feel those things can be helpful at times in life. But I really view them as just, they're just your choices. Like, I'm choosing to love this person. I'm also choosing to have hope. Like, that has to be a, like you said, a practice of your life, is to say, even in life situations, even in the people around me, even when I could choose cynicism at any time, I'm choosing hope instead.
Yep.
And I think that leads you to that path of to be the critical optimist, or the, the other one was.
I think it is a lot of choices. I think that's like, because one of the things I'm much more emotional than Greg, obviously. People know, I know, it's a shock. But I think that, at least on the outside, no, wait, he said on the inside, I'm expressive. Your insides are calm, though, you said. Yeah, so you're calmer than expressive, whatever. But like it's easy for me to be moved by feelings and feel like those can guide the way a lot. And so it's like, you have to choose. Like, it's not just one choice, it's repeated choices. And it's like,
And they're little.
and they are little. They are little, and they grow big either over to cynicism or over to hope. And it's really easy on hard seasons to go be cynical. Just every day forget to choose hope, and it's easy to just keep digging that hole instead of being hopeful.
And it's easier to choose hope when you feel hope.
Oh yeah,
But then it's also easier to feel hope after you've chosen hope.
yeah. They just build up, but
Yeah, and all of these things are impacted by trajectory. So a 1 degree change towards hope, give it a little bit of time, is a massive change. And you can say, in this moment, this little decision, I don't think it's actually doing anything. It actually really is. We're going to end with a process of like this, seeing not that they're in contradiction to each other, or that they're antonyms, but as you have skepticism, and as that moves away from trust, if you have a lot of skepticism and no trust, that is cynicism. And if you have all trust and no discerning or skepticism, you're naive. Naivete. And so, and there is there is self-focused impact of that. But just to think about that in communal impact, or being the body of Christ, or being the church. If you say, I don't trust these people, and I'm going to discern, I'm going to be skeptical of everything they do, I don't trust them, and just the weight of that, feeling the impact of that in the community is, it's so much fun. Every day is a party. And it also can be, again, I think that it would be easy to say, well, trusting without any discernment is better. But again, if you have a group of people that just like, I trust and I'm not going to be discerning of anything, those people are actually, they're so open to be hurt by others. And,
Or they just actually think they don't care that much.
yeah.
I think you have to be incredibly, it's hard to be incredibly soft to the world. Like, this is something I've been talking about with, a lot of my friends lately, is, we have people on, such far spectrums of, you feel everything.
Yeah.
And I'm and I just can't. Because if I did, how could you function? I don't. But I think one of the big things that it's about recovery time. It's okay to feel those things and to, be soft to the world, but, it's that hopefulness of I can't let this overtake me and overtake my day or my week. That does suck. And I actually was kind of tricked in that. But you know what? I'm really proud of myself for practicing trusting that person, or walking that out. And so recovery time is a proof. But again, it's always a practice thing of we'll try it again. And when we go both sides, we allow ourselves or others to hurt people. And it's how do we find balance?
And Greg said, or they just don't care. And then triggered something in my head. I think okay, so a while back, I think we talked about this. Well, I've definitely talked about it in the past, but opposite of love is apathy, right? So we're called to love. That's what it says. And this spectrum lands inside of love.
Yeah.
Because this spectrum can't be in the apathy realm, because if you don't care, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So there's a step before you get to cynicism, skepticism, all that, because you have to have that first, which is fascinating.
Yeah.
The sure is broken.
That thing is like rock bottom.
If you are absent of trust and are just, again, the skeptic, you're hurting people. And if you are trusting with no skepticism, you're allowing for yourself to be hurt, but allowing others to be hurt. That may not necessarily be by you. And, those wounds, which probably all of us have had moments of wounded by each of the extremes, it can be, again, because I love the idea of reclaiming skepticism as being a healthy thing, because in the midst of that, and reclaiming trust, that actually might be a bigger one. But as we reclaim both of those things, the thing that actually happens while it's safe. There's safety. And a huge part of being body of Christ or being community, the idea of I need you and you need me together, synergistically we are better, that can only really function in a safe space. And I think often safe space is such an easy thing to say, but what in the world is it? And this is some foundation to what safe space actually is.
Yeah. Good. That's a good conversation.
It was good. I'm excited about it.
I appreciate. I think this is one of the better ones we've done.
Thanks, Mark.
See you next week.